Hello, and welcome to the video guide for the Control Center encounter in the Dxun Nature of Progress operation. This is the third encounter and is also the second of the Ad Rush encounters. So we begin in the generator room where we ended the previous pull. So we're going to go through this fight, go through the mechanics and the layout, so you know everything you need to know to get through this fight successfully. It's a fun encounter, similar to my advice on the holding pens encounter, the previous one. If you're new to this encounter, it's fine to go slow and steady is the way to go. It's not too difficult to get past any of the ads or any of the other stuff, as long as you stay together. So that's going to be the key. The more familiar you are with this op, the faster you can go. And there's even kind of an interesting shortcut that we'll discuss midway through. All right, so let's get into it. Okay, so here's the layout of the path we're going to go up until we get into the control center. We begin in the generator station where we ended the previous encounter. If for any reason we wipe on this encounter, whenever we go, we'll actually go back through the doorway as if we were going to that kind of lab area where we started the holding pens. But when you click the button, instead of being teleported into that room as you were before, you'll actually be teleported back to the generator station. So anyway, we start. There's a couple key points. When we begin going back through that little narrow pathway, there are going to be some of the little ads, and then there's going to be a big rampaging charger, and typically one, although every now and again sometimes two, of the Fellshod Reapers, the ones that glow red and are by far the most dangerous ads. Now, it is possible to skip these ads. So if you have Sentinel Transcendence, Marauder Predation, or if you have a Vanguard or PT that can use a utility to give you an extra speed boost, all those things can help. It's very problematic though. It seems to have a very low success rate your first pull. If you happen to wipe on your first attempt, it has a much higher success rate the second time around. So as a general sense, especially for story mode, it's not that big a deal. I suggest going ahead and killing them. As we'll see, you pop a flare, but we'll talk through that with live video in a moment. And then after you do that, you go back to that central area where the warden droids were, and you hang a right. You're going to cut out into the area with the pond. Now, the main mechanic here, as is on the graphic, is along the far wall there are the turrets, or some folks refer to as the lollipops of death. They alternate between powered on and powered off. And there's an ops announcement, as you'll see, that says when they're powered on. When they're powered on, if they have line of sight on you, they'll zap you. Now, they tend to do a fair bit of damage. They typically won't one-shot you in story mode, so it is somewhat forgiving, but you can't just ignore them. So our general goal is going to be to hide behind rocks. Now, we're able to skip them, so each time the generators power off, we can go 2 rocks at a time. So we'll go from point number 2. We'll hide there, and then we'll eventually go to point number 3. And then if you have any kind of group speed boosts as well as the stems, which we'll talk about, then you can, from point number 3, whenever the turrets go off, you can actually run all the way in until you get to number 4 into the control center, which we'll talk about separately. Key things to be aware of are the lake crabs, which we'll see here in a moment. At point number 2 and point number 3, lake crabs spawn, and they will pull somebody in. And so generally you hide behind the rock until you kill the lake crab and enough of the other ads that continually spawn until the turrets power down, and then you keep moving. At point number 3, same deal, kill a lake crab, kill the ads, wait for the turrets to power down. Now when you're running all the way in, there will be another lake crab that spawns that you can skip if you are very timely in using your stems. That we may remember from previous encounter, that if you use them once, they give you effectively a hold the line or hydraulic overrides buff that gives you a speed boost and makes you immune to pulls and physics-related slows and those kind of things, which means when a crab spawns in the pond, you can all run by it without getting pulled into the pond to your death. That's phase 1. Phase 1 is probably the most chaotic, but again, go slow, you can take your time, and let's walk through it. Okay, so let's see phase 1. Now you notice this is from the POV of a tank, so I have a stem, just because we had extras left over. If you have any left over from the previous pull in holding pens, you can just, everyone get extra. Key here is you want every single person to have a stem, which is the buff on the left. If you have extras beyond that, DPS can pick up extras. And you want the tanks and or players that are experienced with the fight to grab a flare. That's the little white temporary debuff or temporary ability on the right. Generally, if tanks are experienced in the fight, they should get all of them. Otherwise, folks can help. So here's the first wave of ads. The Crimson Stalkers aren't that big a deal. Here are the big ads. Here's the Fellshot Reaper. Now, we very deliberately planned to just hold them because it's just tricky to skip them, especially your first pull. So what you may have noticed was I popped a flare. You can see that temporary ability's on cooldown, and you can kind of see the buff. It's all kind of messy here. And then we're just burning everything down. I'll pop a second flare if I need to. Key is the Reaper. That's the really dangerous one. The Charger's not too bad. The Reaper's the one that, if you ignore and he follows you, will cause some problems even in story mode. So we're going to kill all these guys, and then we're going to run. Again, if you have really good group speed buffs, you can potentially skip them. If you wipe once, you can skip by going along that right wall and just don't hit any healing abilities, taunt abilities, don't attack, don't do anything. So here we skip the first rock, we go to the second rock, right around that tank markers where you're going to want to hide. You see the lake crab coming in. I ducked over to the right to get it to spawn. So we can't move until we kill the lake crab because it'll pull someone back probably into line of sight of those turrets. So we're just going to stand here. Some other ads are going to come in. Depending on your group's healing and DPS, it might be a good idea to pop a flare here. Some of the ads that come in have conals, and that can make them a little bit difficult because if your tank isn't able to position them facing away from the group, as I try to do here, then the group can take a fair bit of damage. So here you can see we killed the ads, but it says the coils are coming back online. So if we go now, we're going to get zapped. So we're just going to stay here, just going to hang out. We're not in any rush. We may get a few more ads, but there, they went off. So let's go. Now I'm on a Vanguard, so I use my Vanguard speed buff using Stealth Scan that you can opt into. Again, we skip a rock when we go to the fourth rock, which is position 3 on that map. Again, you see the lake crabs spawning. Some more ads are following us in. It's no big deal. We're just going to hide out here. The Fellshot Hunters, those guys are the ones with the cleave, so they're a little annoying. I'm trying to face them away from the group. But again, you can pop a flare here too. You have a fairly generous supply of flares in story mode, so don't be afraid to pop one if it looks like group damage is a problem. But again, we're just going to kill the lake crab, kill the other ads, and then we're just going to wait until the lake crab's dead, the really dangerous ads are dead, and the turrets power down. So here we killed the ads, but the turrets are coming back online, so we need to wait because we don't want to run out in the middle of those turret blasts. So we're just going to sit here and wait until the turrets power down. So there they go. So now we're going to, in this case, we were going to run, but a few of those ads were still alive. So we're just going to wait just a little bit longer. Again, there's no rush. In hard mode, there's a lot more of incentive to go as fast as possible, but in story mode, there is really no need to go too fast. The faster you go, the better, but there's no rush. So coils are coming back online, so we're just going to hang out. So the key here is if you have any group speed buffs and any personal speed buffs, you want to use those initially. So what we're going to do is we're all going to run. I throw my Vanguard speed buff. Anybody you see someone pop Transcendence there, which is great. We're going to run, and about halfway out, there's the lake crab, so then you hit your stem. So we call out to everyone, hit your stem, and then we're just going to go. Fortunately, we had one player get clipped. But you run in through this tunnel where we are, popping this speed buff for everyone else. The cool part here is as soon as you get in the door, you'll see on the left there is a clickable button that will shut the doors. As soon as somebody gets in, you want them to click it. See, I'm hiding around the corner so no one sucks me in. Now, a bit of a new thing is it's supposed to teleport everyone into the room that's outside of it. Unfortunately, if you are positioned just right, you can get killed by the door boss, which didn't seem like that happened a whole lot when this op was new, but it's definitely a thing now. So anyway, if there are any ads still in the room, you kill them. Anyone that has flares, you can come in here and grab more flares, as I'm doing. There's some more stims there on the left. So anybody that any DPS that only have one or none should pick up some. Preferably you want to get to 2, because if DPS double stim, you get 100% crit boost. So it's a nice offensive, basically an adrenal. Healers can do it if they want to. It can be a heal cooldown. Tanks also get a really big defense buff. So really anybody can, depending on your team strategy and what you think is best. Okay, so for any visual learners that help more with graphics, like I do, take just a moment to talk about the transition. So here's the control center layout. We enter on the left. As you saw, you hit the control panel just inside the door, which will stop any more ads from coming in, teleport anyone outside in, and will potentially kill someone if they get stuck by the door. Unfortunately, if they get clipped by the door, you actually can't res them. So depending on your group strategy, it might be easier just to have everyone run in, then shut the door. That will mean more ads will come in, but you avoid having a healer or especially a tank go down, which could be problematic. There is an interesting shortcut here, which I alluded to earlier, which is you can, because it teleports people in story mode, what you can do if you have a stealther in your group is everybody can stay in that opening area, the generator station, and pull ads there. Healers can just heal, they'll build aggro, and then all the ads come in. You just basically hold them in that entryway door, kind of how you ended the holding pins encounter. And then the stealth person doesn't attack, doesn't heal, doesn't do anything, they just stay stealthed, and they just run the whole path we just did. Any lake crabs that spawn should aggro to the group back in the generator station and avoid you. And so then you just go from rock to rock in a similar fashion. And as soon as you get inside the room, you click the button, and that teleports everybody in the room, and you don't get any ads. So we don't usually do that because it's a little boring for everyone else. But it is a viable option, I think, particularly if there's any issues. It is important to note, however, that strategy does not work in hard mode, as when you click the button in hard mode, in master mode, if anyone outside the door just dies, because it's just assumed, I guess, they'll be overwhelmed by all of the ads. So anyway, once you get in here, you have a little bit of downtime. You have around 25 seconds of downtime. No more ads continue to spawn during that time, so that gives the DPS time to kill any ads that are still in the room. As you saw in the video a second ago, tanks and whoever else is helping with flares can go get some flares, and then other players can go get extra stims. The notation here in the graphic of 6 and 4 is for story mode, or for 8-man. So there'll of course be more in 16-man, as you probably noticed. There's going to be 2 warden droids, as you saw and you see here near the door. They are not active initially. They do not become active until a minute after the other doors closed. And so about halfway through that phase, the doors on the north, the shields go down, ads start to come in. You have a little bit of time to group them up and deal with them until the warden droids activate. After the warden droids activate, we need to kill the warden droids in order to activate the console on the right, similar to the previous encounter. And then once we hit that button, that reactivates the shields and ads stop spawning, and then we just have to kill whatever ads are left. So this is the positioning and strat that I typically recommend for story mode, which is to position everyone basically in between or very close to the 2 warden droids. The only thing you really need to be careful about is the Crimson Stalkers, the little lizardy looking ads, can drop pink puddles, and so you don't want anyone to stand in those. So you may notice, we go back to the video, that as the tank I stand out just a little bit to keep them a little further away from the group. But once all the ads start coming in, we kind of just tuck in there, try to keep a flare active at all times. The flare's duration is the same as its cooldown, which means that the simplest version is you just have one player hold all the flares, and as soon as one ends, they just use another one. There's a tiny bit of downtime for the cast, which can be problematic in hard mode, but in story mode it's not really a big deal. Or you can just alternate. It's not a big deal, just make sure you keep one up. And that is very helpful because some of those ads are more dangerous and they do a lot less damage within the flares. So that's really helpful for your group healers. As soon as the warden droids are active, you generally want to prioritize those. The only ad that really takes similar priority is the Felshad Reaper, which is the ad that is kind of almost looks like it's on fire a little bit. That one you want to burst down and then single target the warden droids and just let dot spreads and splash damage and all that stuff take care of all the rest, because all the rest of the trash, they'll just keep spawning and keep spawning. You'll never really run out of them. And so the priority is the 2 warden droids, and as I said, the big Reaper. Once that's done, then you just have someone go click the shield, and you're done. Okay, so back to where we were. So we just finished closing the door. There may have been like 1 or 2 ads we killed. I picked up the rest of the flares. Some folks are grabbing stims. Now the ads are starting to come in. So initially I'm going to try to hold them a little bit outside the group, so if we get any of those annoying puddles, The Fellshot Hunters don't drop the puddles though, so we group them up. We're just going to damage them for a little bit. You could pop stems if you want to get your DPS buff. Though I usually recommend trying to save those until either the Fellshot Reaper comes in or the big droids. So now the big droids are starting to activate, so we're going to keep our flare up now that we've got kind of a lot of ads. That makes it a lot easier for the healers to keep everyone up, because you don't really, the ads that have cleaves don't use cleaves inside the AoE circle. The ads that stealth don't use their stealth attack inside the circle, and so on. So it's just a lot easier. Or just bursting down the Warden droids. Pretty straightforward. This is an amazing fight for AoE damage. For those of you that have AoE tacticals, this is definitely a good fight for it. In hard mode, I've seen players, particularly Vigilance Guardians and Vengeance Juggernauts, top about 80 to 90k sustained in this room in hard mode. So anyway, we killed the 2 Warden droids, so we go click the button on the panel over there, and now the shields are shut, so we just have to finish off the lingering ads. Here's the Fellshot Reaper, who, I guess, came in and then bugged out and left, which is cool for us. Oh, nope, there he is. He did come back. And so this is the guy, if he comes in earlier, you definitely want to prioritize bursting him down, because he's the only one that's really dangerous without a flare. But kill him, kill the Warden droids, hit the button, and then finish everything else off, and you're done. So it's a fun fight. I think it's a relatively easy one in story mode once you know what to do. There is the shortcut, as I mentioned. So hope this is helpful. Hope you enjoy Dxun. I think it's a great operation. We'll do a clean kill video after this. Thanks very much for watching, and good luck. Bye.
Quickly, get everyone in and close the walkway door. Excellent. We're in the clear. Access the control room console with Rattler's ID card.
Quite the nasty lot gathering out there.
Unknown failure. Holding pen's power.
Just hold on. It'll reboot.
Power restored. Scanning. Alert. Unauthorized life forms detected in control room. Initiating warden protocol.
At least the shield is holding.
Unknown failure. Holding pen's power.
Fly.
Droids are down. Use the console.